Good evening, and welcome to another tumultuous episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your torrid and tantalizing host, Voice of Doom. Some used bombs that were sent to Ukraine. I'm gonna do another diatribe because the news is coming in pretty hot and heavy, and it's hard to keep up, so I'm gonna have to do more. I like doing diatribes. I like to pray before I do a diatribe because that clears my mind. So if I say I'm going to do a diatribe, I usually do my Buddhist practice before I begin my soliloquy. And I am praying that the universal forces will help me to say something that might be of service to people. Might be enlightening, might be interesting. But I went to work today. I usually listen to talk radio on the way to work. And I always hear interesting things on talk radio now. Two things that I heard on the radio. And then I'll tie it in with work, and then I'll tie it in with the big picture. First thing is, we get a local talk radio guy from Reno, and he said that the Washoe County Board of Education was getting an earful from teachers. This is the Reno area. This is not inner city Chicago. This is not LA. And the teachers in Reno and the environments are saying that they don't like going to school scared every day. They say the students are out of control. They do whatever they want. They're threatening. And the teachers can't do a damn thing about it. In fact, if they so much as raise a finger or wag their finger at a student, they will either be fired or jailed for child abuse. So you see how everything's going really to hell in a handbasket, because the youth of today are being raised to just think they can do whatever the hell they want, because if anybody says anything about it, then you're a phobe. Then you are a microaggressor. And we were talking about that at work today because I was getting people at the bar, and a couple regular people, a lady's a teacher, came in, and I said, "How's it going?" And she said, "I guess okay," which I know what that means. I say things like that all the time. It means I'll just say it's okay. She said, "Give me a drink and make it a good one, make it a stiff one." So I gave her a stiff rum and coke, and she proceeded to tell me that someone pulled a gun on her in her classroom today in Reno. No, it wasn't in Reno. It was in Styx, in this little town that I work in. So there you have it. She was fit to be tied. She was trying to decompress from this incident, and we talked about the education system and youth. And now, talking about youth, I talked to another customer, and I said, well, the head chef was telling the dishwasher how he wanted the dishes done, because he said, "You're not doing them quite thorough enough. You're leaving food on the pots and pans, and you got to do it this way." And he proceeds to show the kid, and the kid says, "To hell with this, I quit. I don't want I don't want to be insulted, and you're microaggressing me, and you're probably a racist," because he was a Rastafarian guy. So he quit because he didn't want to be taught how to do dishes. And the guy that I was talking to has had a lot of businesses, and he runs businesses, and he said he's running into the same thing with the Gen Zers. If he so much as says anything, they just quit. Oh, you didn't do this quite right. Oh, I quit. So that's the world we're coming to. Now, we'll talk about youth some more. Because if you look at history, every major totalitarian regime has put all their emphasis on youth, because they know full well that people, say of my age, that have been on the planet for a while, are not going to easily adapt to new things. But if you can get the youth to adopt certain customs and get used to certain things, then it will be very easy to clamp down on them later. So you look at China, the Cultural Revolution that was led by the youth. You look at Schicklgruber's Hitler Youth Organization, which he was grooming the German kids to be Aryan warriors for the future conquest of the world. Khmer Rouge gave the kids full reign to kill people all over the place, and then eventually the kids were killed. So you have to really pay attention when the youth movements are heading toward a certain way, and who's doing it, who's pulling the strings, and why. Something everybody should pay attention to. And work was a trip because everybody is on edge. For some reason right now, I don't know if it's all these different things coming together, different things happening, but people were not in a good mood, and they were all trepidatious, and they were all rather anxious about what they didn't know. I talked to everybody, and they're like, I just have a weird feeling. It's just, things are not good. I don't know why. Getting it from all over. Okay, now, second thing on the radio I heard, Marie Presley was rushed to the hospital and with cardiac arrest, and she was put under a medically induced coma and is on life support. And I said to myself, I think she's gone. By the time I got home and looked it up on the computer, yes, Lisa Marie Presley, daughter, I think she's a daughter, of Elvis, dead at 54 of cardiac arrest. I wanted to delve into this because I told you in a couple episodes ago, if these celebrities start dying right and left for unexplained reasons, people are going to notice, and it's happening. Everybody knows it's happening, and everybody is really, deep down in their heart, they're scared. And if they would watch my diatribes, they would know why they're scared. But she did die. I looked to see if there was any information about, usually they'll say something to the effect of such and such who has been battling cancer, or such and such who was told they had a heart condition, or such and such who, has a history of this or that, died of cardiac arrest. Well, there wasn't any of that in there. All they did is talk about Elvis dying of a heart attack. Mainly because he had so many narcotics in his body that he had no choice but to have a heart attack. But they were trying to tie all this in together like it's hereditary. Nothing to see here, folks. She died at 54 of a heart attack. She was in perfect health, and she died. Now, they're outlawing autopsies because they don't want anybody to know what anybody died of anything. So I don't know if they're going to do an autopsy. I think they're just going to say cardiac arrest, and that will be that. But if you know my opinion, and you know what my opinion is, something's going on. So you got your youth, you got people dying right and left prematurely. Enough reason right there for people to be a little bit anxious. Now, cardboard. It's picking up steam. The Grandma Garland is going to say a few words. And I don't want to say too much about it because, the impunicity is so thick. Impunicity, my own word. Hypocrisy and duplicity, two-faced duplicity with impunity. That's an impunicate. And they're all impunocrats, and you can always tell when the Dems are up against it. First thing they say is, we're cooperating fully. Whenever a party or an administration says we're cooperating fully, we know that's bad for them. We don't want to cooperate with anything. But if we have to say we're cooperating, that means there's something to cooperate with. Okay, everybody knows this. Petri was on the podium with taking questions from the press and reading his answers on why he had these documents in his garage with his Corvette. Totally unintelligible, but you would think that being the leader of the so-called free world and being the commander-in-chief of the U.S., what used to be, armed forces, he would have the wherewithal and the acumen to answer the question without having to read it. But he couldn't even read it without mumbling and jumbling and gumbling. So everybody, and I mean everybody, is starting to roll their eyes and go, this can't go on. Now here's what's happening. It's very obvious. The mainstream media and the legacy and the deep state and all the people that work together to fool us and to treat us like fools are throwing Petri under the bus, because they know there's no way in hell he's going to win in 24 if he runs. Because at the rate he's going, he's going to be drooling. He's going to be chewing on his own feet. And I've seen people chew on their own feet. My first job was at a retirement home. Had to take the food up to the intensive care units where they couldn't even have the energy or the physical ability to come down for their meal. So we took the meals up to them, and I saw old people chewing on their own feet and doing all kinds of weird things. And I was repulsed and didn't want to take the food up because I didn't want to see what they were doing, because they'd be doing some really weird and horrible, gross things, and I didn't want to see it. And I got so sick of being in the kitchen that we were fighting to see who would take the food up, because we just wanted to get out of the kitchen. So you get used to everything. But Petri will be chewing on his feet, and I think we can safely say that this is the beginning of the decline and fall of Petri dish. And I hope it's humiliating, and I hope that he is dragged through the mud, dragged through the system. I hope that he is given a very large prison sentence for his sins, which are myriad. And then you got the other D's who will always say, well, they're hypocrites on both sides. The goppers were saying that it wasn't a big deal that Orangey had classified documents. Now, Orangey was president. He has every right to declassify anything he wants to. So what happened with that? And he was also very cooperative when it came to them saying, keep these documents locked up and then we'll come and get them eventually. But they had to do it in a way that is like, you know, SWAT teams. Because they had to be all dramatic about it, because it's Orangey, and we want to make sure that everybody knows that he is a criminal. Not so with Petri dish. This was more like, we'll send my lawyers to get them 3 months ago, and we'll tell people about it after the election. So he's corrupt to the bone. We all know that. I don't have to reiterate. But I will say, what will I say? One more thing. See, it slips my mind, but I will say that he was vice president. He didn't have the right to have those documents in the first place. So whether or not you say Orangey shouldn't have had the documents, he was in a much better position to declassify and to have those documents than Petri dish. And whenever the D's say it happened on both sides, or both sides are hypocrites, that's their final refuge. of when they know that's indefensible. So then they just say, well, both sides do it. They all do it, so you can't blame Petri dish. Well, they're going to be blaming Petri dish. They want him out. And the way he goes out, we'll see. But I think it will be very interesting over the next year and 11 months, because it's only going from bad to worse. The whole world, everybody knows it. Everybody knows that it's almost time for the big reset. Talking about resetting and going back to the Neolithic age and starting all over again. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in about a few things that have happened in the last 4 or 5 hours. And I will probably check the news tomorrow and do more of my salient and coherent commentary. So I'll leave it there, and thanks, Nick, for your advice on some of these issues, and keep watching and tell all your friends, and thank you very much for your loyalty. Good night, everybody, and thanks.